So, today I want to say something about Mercury and about our intelligence, because Mercury is our mind. Intelligence is a funny thing because the school system is necessarily one size fits all. You're trying to teach a bunch of kids all at once, and you're trying to make them economically productive members of society. In a way, fair enough. But if you don't fit into that system, you can spend the rest of your life feeling like you're stupid or you've got something missing. And of course, it's very hierarchical as well. Some have more of that particular type of cognitive ability than others. That's just how life is about everything. But one of the good things about astrology is it shows us individually how we are. It shows us, in particular, in this case, how our mind is. Because if you think about it, there's 12 different sign placements for the Mercury. There's 12 different house placements for Mercury. So there's 144 combinations already. And then there's the aspects it can make with the outer planets. So our mind is a subtle thing. Our intelligence is a subtle thing. It doesn't do justice to it to be just put through the school system and judged according to that. And maybe it's not bad to have these challenges. Maybe it's not bad always that we have to fight to trust our own intelligence, to believe our own intelligence. Many of our gifts we only find because we have to fight for them. And we can be grateful for that fight through gritted teeth when we look back, because we'd never have chosen it. That's how often the major outer planet transits work. They're a initiation into some new way of being, but we have to fight for it. And we can easily blame our childhood and say, well, I should have it anyway. It's just my parents are like this, that, or the other. But no, these are deep things. And often we need precisely that kind of opposition. It may even be traumatic. Sounds a terrible thing, but even those traumas can also serve that kind of purpose. Although, of course, you'd never wish them on yourself or anyone else. But coming back to Mercury, before I diverge too much, because this is the nature of Mercury, he'll set up 6 different fascinating things we can talk about at once. And I've got Gemini on the MC, so I can do that. When I came to write my books, it was a hell of a job keeping it in some kind of steady narrative and not diverging too much. So I allowed myself a certain amount of divergence, keep Mercury happy. So that's his nature. He rules Gemini and he rules Virgo. So those are the signs he's most comfortable in. Those come most naturally to him. So Gemini, it's about the accumulation of facts and information, partly. Yeah. And Virgo is about analysis, discernment, putting things in categories. So Mercury is very good at those sorts of functions. But there's other functions he has to work a bit at to be good at. So let's begin with the elements. I'm not going to go through all the signs one by one, but if I can at least help guide us into looking at our own Mercury and acknowledging the way our own intelligence works, that it can't necessarily be measured on this kind of brute scale of IQ, which is a good indicator of success in the world. It does say something. It's by no means the whole picture. So the 4 elements are very useful as a categorization because they keep it simple. Rather than 12 signs, we divide them into the 4 elements that they each belong to one of them. And we have a feel for those elements. We don't need to know the myths and stories around the signs. We just need a feel for those elements, which I talked about in the last video. Fire. Now in astrology, they go in this order: fire, earth, air, and water. Sun, soil, rain, and wind. Actually, it should be sun, soil, wind, and rain. Anyway, that's the order they go in, but they're tangible. So look at the element of your Mercury, and it will tell you how your mind works. So if you have a Mercury in an air sign, It works very well with abstract ideas. Yeah. Um, Philosophy, mathematical logic, those can be fascinating. They're a world unto themselves and they don't have to relate to anything else. And that has its value. Because often the way particularly like mathematics works, it's utterly abstract. It seems to have nothing to do with anything. But then you filter it down and it can describe the world that we live in great detail. So abstraction does have its place. It also has its place because it enables us to disidentify, to look at things from both sides, which is what Libra is so good at, and what humanity generally is so bad at. So if you've got Mercury in air, you have that ability to disidentify while everyone else around you is identified with their beliefs, identified to the death to their beliefs, because it tells them who they are. You have the ability to stand back and go, well, what are the facts? And what are this one? You still have your own beliefs, but to some extent, you can stand back from them. So abstraction and disidentification, that's the strengths that Mercury in an air sign gives you. It also has its weaknesses, but there's probably not time for that now. There's so much in this subject. I'm just trying to give you these 4 big brushstrokes to go away with of the elements. Mercury in a water sign, Scorpio, Pisces, or Cancer. You have to be able to feel an idea before you can relate to it. It has to ring true on an emotional level. Otherwise, it just feels like it's just words, it's just hot air. And this is particularly maybe where Mercury in Scorpio is good. Because someone can be talking, they can be talking brilliantly. Using logic. Yeah. Subtle logic. But somewhere it's not ringing true. You know that they're not feeling what they say. In other words, they're trying to convert you to an idea, or they're even trying to convert themselves to an idea. And it becomes a protection from what they're feeling. So it's a good kind of bullshit detector, Mercury in Scorpio. But it maybe finds it harder to dance around those ideas so quickly. It takes you longer to go through the ideas because you have to feel them. That's the way you learn. So this isn't just about how your mind works, it's also how you learn. So it's slower, but in a way there's a depth to it. There's an authenticity to it. So it doesn't make you stupider because you're slower. The slowness is there because you have to feel it. So give yourself credit for that. Mercury in a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Well, for an idea to make sense to you there, it has to excite your imagination. It needs to be going somewhere. It's like, well, otherwise, what's the point of it? Yeah, it's an idea, but it's boring. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. And maybe a lot of ADHD is about this, so-called ADHD. Yeah, half the people I know have diagnosed themselves with ADHD lately. And all it usually means, in my opinion, is that their mind works creatively. So they can't be interested in something. They can't take an interest in something. They wouldn't make a good accountant. Yeah, they have to be fired by an idea before it will land in them. And then they'll pay attention 24 hours a day. So that's more like Mercury in fire. Make sure it does it for you. Learn the things that do it for you. Ignore the things that don't do it for you, unless you really have to learn them. That's your type of intelligence. There isn't something wrong with you. In a way, there's something right with you. And then finally, Mercury in Earth. I've left that one to the last, probably because I've got the least to say about it. Here goes. But an idea doesn't make sense to you unless it's practical. So it's no good trying to learn advanced mathematics at school. It's like, and because you can't see the immediate relevance. But how an engine works, yeah, if you're in there working out which pipe goes where, your Mercury's at home. Or indeed, it may well be money as well, because that is very practical. So again, you might have a Mercury in Earth and have spent most of your life thinking you're stupid, when actually your Mercury is practical. It gets things done. So there you go, a short introduction to Mercury, and I hope it helps you identify the nature of your intelligence, because you're very intelligent. It's the nature of humans to be very intelligent. We just need to work out the nature of that intelligence, and astrology can help us find our own unique way into that.